Hey, welcome to episode 56 of Think Like a Hacker. This is the post-WordCamp US episode, and it's the first time Kathy and I have had a chance to catch up, and we have much to share, and there is a new release of WordPress out, and we'll be covering that. Get ready for an awesome show. All right, post WordCamp US, Kathy, how's your sanity level? I guess you had WordCamp Seattle right after that too, right?
Yes, I did. It was a lot of fun and all worth it, but it was a little exhausting there at the end, but starting to recover now. How about you?
I'm good. I had a different conference that kind of clashed with WordCamp Seattle, so I couldn't go to that. But yeah, sort of conference season is wound down a little bit now, so also enjoying the additional bandwidth, additional mental space. But yeah, WordCamp US was oh my goodness, that was crazy. We had so much going on.
Yeah, it was from the time we got there until the time we left. It was nonstop activity, whether we were talking to people or having a little bit of a party. There was so much going on, but every conversation I had was so worth it. How about you?
Yeah, it was amazing. So, I guess the headlines on our side is we had a 15 by 15 booth at US, and I felt like that was the perfect size, actually. I think we'd considered going a little bigger, but it was busy, but not overly crowded. What do you think?
Yeah, it was nonstop activity in our booth. It was definitely the perfect size, and I think we used all of our space pretty well, but a few times it definitely did get a little overwhelming with the number of people who wanted to learn lock picking or wanted to deepen their skills in security and lock picking and having conversations. So it was definitely worth it from a sponsor standpoint to have that size booth.
And then the film crew got hold of your booth and took it over, didn't we?
Yeah, just a little bit. It was worth it, though. I mean, some of those conversations, I was just kind of watching from the side because I was pretty busy too, but some of the conversations that you were having were pretty incredible, I thought. How about you?
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun, and it's always a challenge when you're shooting interviews, and we obviously shoot video at remote locations to find a place to film. And our trick is usually that we rent a suite, but that's hit or miss. We've had some really nice suites, and then we've had some really awful ones. No names mentioned. Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas. But yeah, and so this was great because we had a booth, and it just happened to work out that we had some space in the back with the rocking chairs where we could do some interviews, and we did an interview with Yoast's. I'm going to try to pronounce their names again. Marika, who is one of the execs at Yoast. I think she's actually the CEO,
she's
right, Kathy?
CEO, yeah, and Yoast himself is in charge of product, so she's running the operation. And it's funny because she's got such a distinct personality. I actually read Yoast's material now, and it feels like it's coming from Rika. It's she's doing a great job over there.
Yeah, and then Michael, and I had a chat with the two of them.
Yeah.
And it was it's funny, the best interviews you can recognize the best interviews as you're shooting them because it's like the camera disappears and you're just some friends having a chat. And we just talked about whatever the heck we were passionate about, which is of course business, and they're passionate about what Yoast is doing. And I mentioned in the interview that we aired last week, so if you haven't seen that, definitely go and watch that because it's great. Yeah. And they're both super smart, and of course Yoast has 9 million users, so a huge WordPress plugin. Yeah. And we chatted about, the thing I'm most excited about is the Yoast Academy, because I think online distance learning, you'd think that it would be reaching a point of maturity now, but I think what's happening is that the sort of formal education institutions are being disintermediated by organizations like Yoast and the other academies that are springing up, where you have people who are subject matter experts and they have a deep experience, practical experience that they can use to share and to educate. And I think that's what Yoast is doing. And so definitely check out their academy. But that's what I'm most excited about when it comes to their business. I think that's a huge growth opportunity for them. But yeah, check out that interview. It was it's end of last week, right, Kathy?
Yeah. So it's episode 55, right before this one, and it was definitely one of my favorite points of the interviews that you had done at WordCamp US.
Yeah, for sure. And then we're airing Maddie Osmond's interview this coming Thursday or Friday, right?
Yeah, later this week. That was done. Was that done in the booth also?
Yep, it sure was.
In the rocking chairs.
Yeah, and so Maddie is someone who's really focused on SEO and content creation, and she's very well known in the WordPress community. And so I had an awesome conversation with her, and that's coming up in this Thursday, which would be episode 57, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we the booth was kind of multi-purpose. It was a great location for us, and we. On the WordCamp side, there were 1,600 attendees from around the world. And, that's the really cool thing about WordCamp EU and WordCamp US is that people travel from a little further out to get there. And so the group that you have there's more people and people from more locations. And of course, European teams like the Yoast team and other folks. And it's like a reunion, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And we've gone to so many different WordCamps, and then you develop friendships, and even not just with the sponsors, but with attendees that you've seen at different WordCamps around the United States or even WordCamp EU, and then being able to reconnect with everyone in one space is so much fun, so much intensity. We've really developed some great friendships in the WordPress community, and I think that's really shown in sort of the focus of the little film we made.
Which we'll get to in a moment.
Yeah, teaser.
But something else that we did at US. Okay, let's just get to the film now because I'm too excited. We have to talk about it now. So I guess from my side, I was not 100% sure that Open, the documentary that we made, was actually going to be shown at the keynote. And you told me that it was going to happen. But, I guess I try to protect my psyche against disappointment. And so I'm, skeptical until the last minute. But they screened Open, Matt screened Open at the beginning of the keynote for WordCamp US, which is... it's so massive, and I got to just give him a shout out because he, to be honest, we're a security company, so we're often the bearer of bad news. And I think when we started out, I think Matt didn't know what to make of us. Are we sort of an enemy of WordPress or a friend, or what are our intentions? And gradually we kind of got to know each other. Had a cider at one point a year or two ago, and then. The guys were, Sean and Andrew were filming Open, and we'd gotten most of the filming done, and we decided to ask Matt to do an interview, and he said yes, and he didn't know what we were going to do with the footage. Are we going to quote him out of context or what? And so he did the interview, and then we finished post-production, and he chose to show it at the keynote along with, I guess, the WordCamp US team. Which is just very, very flattering and humbling, and I'm a bit blown away still, actually, Kathy. How about you?
Yeah, so I want to ask you, what was it like? I was sort of like up in the middle and like sitting around a bunch of people, but I wanted to know from your perspective, what was it like watching the WordPress community see the film for the first time for you, from where you were?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I was sitting on the floor in the very back, if you're facing the stage, I was on the right-hand side, but the very back of the room. And it was absolutely packed. And I was there with Carrie, my favorite person in the world. And we were both sitting on the floor, and I kept leaning over to her and saying, like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. And we're also a little bit busy because we were kind of filming the keynote and so on, and so I sort of busied myself with that, and then I would come back and I'd sit on the floor and I'd watch people watching this film, and it was just an amazing feeling, And when we were in Nashville a year before, like almost exactly a year before, and the night before we did the interview with Matt, I was sitting in a kind of library with you guys, and we were having so much fun filming, and for me that was a pivotal moment. I knew that film was going to be a big part of my life from then on. And so then, a year later, sitting on the floor at WordCamp US and with a packed room and watching the film that we helped make be shown to so many people is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you know, we've really committed to the path of essentially being, having a production division within our organization. And we've hired some folks. Sean has actually joined us permanently. He's a full-time team member now, Sean Corbett's. And of course, he's an award-winning director, and I am having so much fun working with him. And when I have time, in addition to running Wordfence and keeping the products moving forward and continuing innovation. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of a really long-winded answer to your question, but it was really an amazing feeling. And I didn't actually know where you were in the audience. Where were you?
I was sitting up, I wasn't sitting with any of our teammates. I was sitting with friends, and not even with my WordCamp Phoenix people. I was with people that I had met. A gentleman from Pressable that I knew was sitting behind me, and Dan Maybe, who runs the WP and Up, was sitting next to me, and then some other people that I didn't know were around me. But I mean, we made the movie for these people. We made the movie for the WordPress community because we saw so many people going to all of these WordCamps, seeing so many people like, all right, I'm putting my business on hold for a while I get this WordCamp up and running, and I'm going to, run these meetups, and so many volunteers, and then also just knowing, so many of the other sponsors and how much, money is flowing through the WordPress ecosystem, and Matt saying like last year that $10 billion is coming through WordPress. And then just that juxtaposition of seeing so many people give so much and so much money as well. And I wanted to explore that, but really I wanted to explore what was the motivation? Why are people doing this? Why are people giving so much of their time and energy and passion and excitement to WordPress? And I really feel like we captured that, and that capturing of that motivation and that passion, and putting it to film and really exploring that, it's a gift. And I've seen people watching the film, tear up and saying, "Oh my gosh, this is me. You captured me." And so I feel like the fact that it was, we've, submitted it to a number of film festivals, but this is what we did it for. We did it for the community, and to be able to see them, it was electric, a little overwhelming, and I'm kind of glad Dan maybe was next to me, because he was the mental health guy for WordPress. If I was gonna lose it and start like crying or something, I'm like, I got Dan right next to me, so I'll be okay, right? But no,
I leaned over to Kerry during the film, and I said, Kathy's probably tearing up big time right now.
Yeah.
Was I right?
I actually didn't. I was overwhelmed. I mean, the amount of energy I could feel just in that room. It was a gift for me. It was a gift. It was this is what I came for type of experience, and it was just the cherry on the top of the sundae for me for WordCamp US. And I get to speak there, I mean, and to most people, and to me, like even a couple of years ago, that was like, wow, that was a huge gift. And I still feel humbled and appreciative that I got to speak there. But the fact that the movie that we all collaborated on, and little pieces of it that I know are just like my contribution to it, for me personally, huge gift. So thank you for inviting me to be a part of this.
Are you thanking me?
Yeah, because you.
Oh my goodness!
You're the one that came up with the idea, and just the fact that I've gotten to be like, along for the ride has been a huge gift.
Oh my goodness! No, you executed on this. I mean, you did the lion's share of the work as an EP on the project.
Yeah, so I don't know about that. I think it was total team effort, and I was just happy to be part of the team because it was.
Me too. And I'm humbled that all these folks are happy to work with me and put up with my crap and so on. So
So now we got to do something for next year, right? So what are we going to do? I mean, this was like such an epic experience at WordCamp US. I'm like looking at the dates for next year, and I'm like, well, what's next year going to bring?
Well, as of yesterday, we have some pretty firm direction on what we're going to do next, and I have not had a conversation with you about that. But we've had some very interesting things that we've been doing over the last, after WordCamp US. Kerry and I, in terms of preparing the ground, we just attended AFM, which is the American Film Market in Santa Monica. It's sort of a multi-day event where you have mostly producers and I guess directors getting together and talking about film and actually selling films. It's where films get sold to Netflix and Prime and other distributors and so on. And then you've also got a lot of countries and territories come there to exhibit their tax incentives for filmmakers to come to their place and film and so on. We had a sit down with Romania, if you can believe that.
Wow. And
really, really cool people. Last night I had a wonderful dinner with Kerry and a producer friend that we met at AFM, Carl, who is actually, he won the Los Angeles 48-Hour Film Project, which is a huge deal. And he's an Emmy-winning producer, and we had such a fun chat. I kind of wish you were there, actually. I think you would have really enjoyed it, Kathy.
Yeah.
And also been connecting with Sean about where to next. Obviously he's a full-time part of the team. We have office space now at a studio in Denver, at a facility called LSI, which is run by Ken Seagram, who is a gaffer with like 40 years experience. He's lit shoots for Barbara Walters and 60 Minutes and various CBS projects and so on. So we've learned a ton from him, and we have access to that facility, and we're continuing to learn. So if anything, we have accelerated our learning and our growth as a sort of a filmmaking team. And I think what we're going to do next is going to really surprise people. It's non-intuitive, let's put it that way. But let's leave that there, and let's get back to the WordPress side of things and the cybersecurity side of things, because we could go down this rabbit hole for a while. But again, thanks to everyone who has posted on social media, positive messages to the production team, Kathy, me, Sean, Andrew, and everyone else who was involved. Thanks again to WordCamp US for airing the documentary at the keynote, and and thanks for everyone for watching. Thanks to everyone for watching. Really, really cool. So we'll, and I think Open is being shown now at WordCamps around the world, isn't it?
Yeah, they showed it at WordCamp Seattle, and a couple of meetups here in Phoenix. They showed it at the meetup down at EIG headquarters, and another meetup up in Canada is showing it, and I'm in touch with some other WordCamps. So we're creating a page on the site to show all of the different meetups and WordCamps at which Open is shown or will be shown. So watch for that coming soon.
Okay, cool. I just want to say one more thing to anyone who's watching or listening. If you have questions about how we shot Open in terms of technical stuff, camera editing or workflow or production, from a producer perspective, getting interviews, whatever you want to ask, just hit me up on Twitter. I am at mmaunder, M-M-A-U-N-D-E-R. You can also, if you have any questions about Open, specifically, you want to do a screening somewhere or you need help with that, just definitely reach out. We're trying to enable that as much as possible. And of course, the film is open source. And there are now 170 gigabytes of assets that are on the open.film website. And of course, that's where you can find the film, is open.film. You can watch it there, you can watch the trailer, you can get the assets, and so on. And just tag me on Twitter, and if for some reason I'm not responding quickly enough, tag Kathy. She tends to have her act a little bit more together than mine. So, all right. So I guess the rest of WordCamp US, there's 90 speakers. The sessions were live streamed on YouTube. It looks like they're up on WordPress.tv now, Kathy?
Yes, they are.
Awesome. And and then there was we had an amazing after party actually for the film. We had a red carpet event with red carpet and a a step and repeat, if you know what that is, the thing that celebrities step onto and then step off with cameras flashing and that kind of thing. So that was awesome, and I think there's a lot of pictures of that on social media. And then and I thought that went quite well, don't you?
Yeah, it was a great time. Everybody that I talked to post the premiere party said that the party made them feel very special, which kind of goes in line with what we tried to do with the film, is to make people in the WordPress community feel special for their contribution. So I think it was a win.
Yeah, no, awesome. All right, so I guess next year's WordCamp US is going to be in St. Louis as well, right?
Yes, and they just announced the dates last week, October 27th through the 29th, which is going to start, I think, on a Tuesday. So it'll be in the middle of the week instead of a weekend, which is very different. I don't know of any other WordCamps that have done that, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects attendance. But yeah, I think a lot of people were like pretty sad that they missed Halloween with their kids and things like that. So
right. And then I guess Tim has decided that he wants to rent an Airbnb pirate ship for WordCamp US 2020, right?
It's he found a pirate ship in oh my gosh, a pirate ship in Minneapolis. So for WordCamp Minneapolis, we're doing a pirate ship. Thanks for approving that on Twitter, by the way. So now the expectations are very high.
I thought it was WordCamp US. This is Minneapolis?
Yeah, he found a pirate boat that you can Airbnb, so.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I guess we're going to be staying on a pirate boat. All right. Well, moving swift on. You can ask Tim about that on Twitter if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll add a link to Tim's Twitter, so you can hit him up all about the pirate thing.
I got you to say that I goaded you into doing some pirate on the podcast.
That's all you're getting.
Okay.
Unless Johnny Depp's around, and then then I'll go into character. Just for Jack Sparrow.
All right. Okay, let's save the listeners are from us. So we're from me anyway. So WordPress 5.3 is out. I have heard.
It is, and I went and updated a few sites, and it went very well. The contributions from 645 volunteers was the largest contributor group ever for a WordPress release. And I thought that was pretty cool. And it really, from my general overall feel from this, is that Gutenberg is starting to grow up. It's becoming much more intuitive and mature, whereas like last year when Gutenberg launched, it definitely felt like a new framework, but newer things have been added to the block editor. The Gutenberg plugin seems to be the testing ground where they'll add new features and see how they are used. So people who are using the Gutenberg plugin are doing some beta testing for the general release of WordPress. So there are a number of features that were included in that Gutenberg plugin that are now resident in WordPress 5.3. And it's pretty interesting. I'm starting to see what blocks can really do, whereas before it was just sort of this nebulous dream off in the distance. Where now I'm starting to see how blocks are really starting to contribute to the entire WordPress experience and really maturing what WordPress can do. So 5.3 really seems like a leap into the future. There's also been a number of accessibility changes, improvements in the WP admin CSS styling. Many of those were due to the WP Campus accessibility audit. And a lot of people are complaining a little bit about the design, that it's too harsh, and they're looking for like a smoother, cleaner design. But this contrast of like all the buttons are much more like the colors, there's definite contrast to them, which is much better for accessibility. So I think, overall, at the accessibility audit, you can definitely see that did have an impact on WordPress development, and a lot of those track tickets dealing with accessibility were taken in consideration there. And then there were some improvements to site health, which was added, I think, in WordPress 5.2. And so I went and took a look at a couple of my sites, which are all like in perfect health, of course, because I'm paranoid being in security, right? So they've really changed some of the grading indicators. And the cool thing that I didn't see before, and I'm not sure when this was added, but you can copy and paste out site health, any issues. So if you're dealing with a support person at like your hosting provider or whatever, site health gives you some data that you can actually take to your hosting company and say, there's an issue here and this is what site health is telling me. And then the other thing that they added in 5.3 was sort of a little bit of a nag that every 6 months, and this hit me on all of the sites that I updated, to verify admin email addresses, because sometimes people cycle through admin email addresses, and if you have a problem with your site, you need to ensure that you're getting notices from your site. So that nag is there. And it looks like we now have full support prepared for PHP 7.4, which is coming later this month. And then have you taken a look at the 2020 default theme at all?
No, I haven't, and I really should, because I use the default theme on my own site, so I'll probably move to that.
Dave Ryan, our friend Dave, moved one of his sites over, and he's been playing a lot with Gatsby and some of the headless WordPress things. And he had a Twitter comment last night that the new default theme with 2020 is actually as speedy as some of the headless stuff that he's been playing with. So I'm interested in playing with that as well and seeing what's new with the 2020 theme. It really is pretty. I did take one of my sites and did sort of like the preview of a theme change, and it looked pretty nice. So looks like this 5.3 release really came out quite smoothly, and looking forward to seeing what else is coming down the pike.
Awesome. And then there's a story about Google Chrome blocking mixed content. What's going on there?
Yeah, this is coming up in December, and like you, I have been blogging for a while, and so I have some older sites that I just had on HTTP only. And so there's older posts in there that had image references using just HTTP. But now these sites are now on HTTPS because they have secure certificates, SSL certificates on there. But because I haven't gone back through some of these older posts, I now have on some of these old posts mixed content warnings. Now, Google Chrome version 79 is going to start alerting in December for site visitors. So if you're on a site like one of my old pages with mixed content, it's going to alert a user that they have mixed content on that site. And then in January, they're going to start blocking mixed content. So this is something that's pretty important for anyone who has a website that at one time did not have a secure certificate on it, that you need to kind of do an audit of what's going on your site. If you have something on your site that you're pulling in a script from another location, say a contact form, JavaScript type of deal with like MailChimp, you have to make sure that those are using HTTPS also, because if anything is served through HTTP, it will trigger Google Chrome's browser to alert users that there is mixed content. If there is a resource that is being served up just as HTTP, and there is a resource available on HTTPS, Google will automatically detect that and upgrade it. And they will introduce a toggle that a Chrome user can use to unblock insecure resources that Chrome is blocking. But all right, so we have a number of users out there who have, dealt with phishing. They've dealt with spammy sites. They may have even gotten Google Chrome warning of like the red screen of death that a site is infected. We have suspicious users out there. So as we are entering the holiday season, and we may have some e-commerce users out there with their site, and they want to be selling goods for Black Friday or whatever, or even through December and through the Christmas season, you want to make sure that your users feel comfortable shopping on your site and they're not seeing any kind of warnings, because otherwise, what are they going to do? What would you do, Mark, if you got to a site and there's all kinds of warnings and you're not sure what those mean?
Find another place to buy the thing.
Exactly. So don't be that site owner. So there's a couple of different ways that you can check your site. Really Simple SSL is a lightweight plugin that you can put on WordPress, and it not only handles the migration to SSL, and if you're not using SSL on a site, it's important to migrate your site to using an SSL secure certificate, and Really Simple SSL will help guide you through that. There's another plugin called SSL Insecure Content Fixer, and that will actually fix it for you. It has a number of toggles that you can turn on, but I just installed it on one of my sites, and it didn't really educate me as to what was wrong. And in my opinion, it's better to figure out what's wrong and fix it rather than to put a plugin that has a Band-Aid over that.
Exactly, totally.
Yeah, so I didn't, you can do that like if you want to, but I would advise that you actually do an analysis of your site and look at all of the content and see which pages have insecure content on it. So I ran one of my older sites through something on jitbit.com, an SSL check, and it actually went through and showed me all of the pages where I have images that are just using HTTP. So now I have a job of like going back and fixing all of those. So my Chrome
that's
visitors.
awesome.
Yeah.
So that resource is www.jitbit.com/SSL check/. And I guess that I should run my site through that actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you've been around a while and you've had a site. Well, didn't you just delete all your content though?
I did, yeah. I have a blog that goes back to the early 2000s, and there's just a lot of stuff that is written there by a much younger Mark Maunder.
Yeah.
And, nothing controversial or weird or anything, but I think that, I haven't been writing for a few years now on a regular basis, at least on that blog. And so if people Google me, they find the site, they go there, and it's like, there's a blog post on how to create and launch a startup in 10.5 hours, which took me on one heck of a journey of creating Fidget, which was a viral widget. And I think the blog post is actually how to create and launch a business in 10.5 hours. And, much older and wiser Mark realizes that a business is more than just a piece of software that's very popular. It's a team, it's cash flow, it's HR, it's all that, everything that goes into a business. And so, content like that just doesn't really reflect my current worldview. And so I decided to archive it. I've still got it, and I might put it up, and it's probably in archive.org. If you really want to troll through that stuff, you can see my incredibly awkward evolution as an entrepreneur. But yeah.
I'm much more interested in what film plans you have, honestly.
Yeah, I tend to have my eyes looking forward as well, and I think that's also part of why I archived that. All right, but enough about that. So that's it for this week's news. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and leave us a comment if you like. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give us a rating to know how we're doing, and that definitely helps us in terms of getting the podcast out there. And Kathy says we might read your review on air, so go ahead and do that. And we'll be airing our interview with Maddie Osman probably Thursday or Friday. So look, you've got that to look forward to. And that's about it. If you're curious what's behind me and why you're hearing this kind of background noise, I'm in Malibu right now sitting with my trailer parked on a cliff, which is actually a little bit scary. I made really sure I chocked the wheels, but that's the sea behind me, and the sea noise is probably what you're hearing coming through the window up there. And if you're wondering about why my face is in shadow and why it's so bright, I think there's this contrast thing going on here where I wanted you to be able to see the sea, which means that my face is going to be a little bit darker. So that's what's going on there. But anyway, enough about that. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.